Hello everyone. I thought I would come on and show you how I made my BTS keychains, well, Jungkook keychains. I initially thought about making ornaments for a Christmas tree during Christmas, before Christmas, but as I was researching, I came across these glass dome keychains and I thought they were really pretty. And so I looked it up, checked out YouTube, and made a few of my own. There are a lot of different videos out there with different supplies and materials that are used, and I found my way through trial and error, and I thought I'd show you. So what I use is Mod Podge. That's to seal the pictures. Then I use a Glamour Glaze. This is the glue that I use to adhere everything into the trays. And then you just need a paintbrush and a bucket of water and your pictures. And so I just find pictures that I like. Some are, screenshots that I take. Some are ones that I find online. And I print them out on a regular inkjet printer. The thing with inkjet is that if you're not careful, the ink will smear, it will smudge, and it doesn't look pretty. And so through trial and error, what I did is I seal the pictures first with Mod Podge. Then I add the glass dome on top and then seal the back and then glue it in. It sounds like a lot, but it's really very quick. So you find pictures that you want. You size it according to whatever size glass dome that you purchase. So this one is a 20 millimeter by 30 millimeter, I think. And you just kind of position it how you want it to be. Some pictures, it will be just straight up and down. It'll just be the way it is. Sometimes you have to tilt a little bit or shift to make it look right. But this one, I like it this way. Now you can just cut it exactly to size to start with, but I actually like to keep it a little bit larger in the beginning, and I'll just sort of trim around it so I get a basic idea of where I want this glass dome to be when I glue it down. So I don't trim it exactly. Sometimes I don't trim it at all. Sometimes it's not really needed. But I find that it's easier to position the glass dome with the sealant if there's some sort of shape to follow as a guideline. So I'm going to do these. I'll just do these two for now because it's going to take a while for me to cut it all out. Okay. So you cut it out. And then you want to take your Mod Podge to seal the pictures. Now Mod Podge is water-based, and so I did discover that it will cause bleeding. But then the glossy accents, I tried glossy accents also, and that caused bleeding too. So I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what to use, but what I did discover is in the beginning when I was adding the Mod Podge, I was adding a thin layer, and that was what was causing the bleeding as you brush on the thin layer. So I take actually like a big glob. Yeah, just take a glob and then put it on there. And you want to move the Mod Podge without touching the picture, if that makes sense. That's why you want a thick layer. So it's going to be very white when you apply it. You're not going to see the picture very well through it. It dries clear, so you will eventually be able to see it. But again, you want to move the Mod Podge, but not brush the picture itself. And let it dry completely. It takes about 2-3 hours for it to dry. And you can tell that it's dry because it will be completely clear. And then you move on to the next step. This one has a little bit too much, but that's okay. Okay, and I'm actually working on a non-stick craft sheet, and so it doesn't matter that I get Mod Podge on my background. If you don't have a non-stick craft sheet, you can use like a parchment paper, I think. A lot of people seem to use that. Alrighty, that looks good. Oh, I pour my Mod Podge in a little separate container because I don't like opening the larger case, a larger container all the time. So this is what I do. and then I let this dry for about 3 hours-ish. And after it's dry, it becomes clear. And you can see the gloss. And I don't know if you can see, but there's like ridges. Do you see the ridges? That's completely fine. That's because when I brush it on, it's not smooth. But the ridges will disappear. So once it's dry, completely dry, you just take another glob of Mod Podge. And this, Mod Podge is also a glue. Works as a glue. Just put a big glob in the center. And you take your glass dome. Let me see, am I in frame? You stick it on and you press it down. Now, the thing with Mod Podge and any kind of liquid adhesive is it can get bubbles. And the way to get rid of bubbles is you press down the center lightly and move in circles. And it's really cool because if you do have bubbles, you can actually see them going out to the side as you do the little circles. And again, I have my non-stick craft sheet, so it doesn't matter that it's kind of oozing out the side. It will ooze. I don't mind the ooze. It's actually good. Then you're going to line it up to where you want it to be and just let it sit. I have another one here. I'm going to do 2 of these. You're going to let it sit for about a day. I think I let mine dry for about a day to make sure that they're adhered well. It takes a while to dry because the Mod Podge is not exposed to air. It's stuck between the paper and the gloss. I mean, the glass. Can't speak today. The paper and the glass. So what I do is I will let it sit here for about 2-3 hours. Okay, no bubbles. I will let it sit here for 2-3 hours, and then I pick it up. I scoop it up from underneath. I flip it upside down and let it dry upside down. So this one, it's all dry. This one also. I did two other ones. It's all dry, so I pick it up and I flip it upside down and let it dry upside down. Now once they're dry upside down, like I said, mine are not cut to size, and it has, I don't know if can you see, it has like the glue right here. So what I do is now I trim. I take this pair of scissors and I just trim right up against the glass and cut off all the extra picture and the glue. The glue will just cut right off. If by chance you get glue on the glass, that is fine also. You just need to get a razor, and you don't want to press, what is this? You don't want to press vertically into the glass, but you want to lay it flat on the surface and just scrape along the top, and it will scrape off any glue that is on there. And then you seal the back. The reason you seal the back, when you hear it, the reason I do it, when you adhere it into the trays, I'm not sure with my method if the glue reaches all around the back. And so if it gets wet, then the paper will get wet. And you don't want the paper to get wet. So I seal it and I kind of make sure to cover the edges of the paper. And again, if it gets on the glass, that's fine because you can just scrape it off later. And make this one relatively smooth. It doesn't need to be thick. It can be very thin, just a thin layer. And you let this dry for another few hours. Now once that is dry, this one is dry. It's not straight, but it doesn't matter. You're going to then take your tray and we're going to glue it in. So I've got my glue and just want to add a glob in the middle. It will spread out, so you don't need a lot. Okay, so just like a glob. This is probably more than I need, but I like to make sure that I have enough. And then you will take your dried glass stone picture. Okay, and you put it in there and you're going to press it lightly. You don't want to squeeze too much right away because you don't know where it's going to squeeze out from. If it squeezes out the edge, it gets really messy and yucky. So just squeeze it gently and let the glue kind of flow slowly. Some of these, they will shift a little bit, so if they move, you can kind of move it up and down. This one fits pretty perfectly, so there's no moving. Just want to press. I can actually see some of the glue coming up on the edge here. So I'm not going to press on that side too much more. Okay, and now you wait again. And again, this one, there's no air source, so it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. So I leave this for about a day as well. And then when all that dries, you're done. You have your finished piece that you can do whatever you want with. This one, you can turn it into a necklace. You can turn it into what I did and make it into like a keychain. Yeah, whatever you desire. So, yep, that is how I make the keychains. Next, I'll show you guys my little danglies. I love making these little danglies. They're so much fun. Okay, have fun. I hope you guys enjoy making your own.